So the defensive end room for Oklahoma. This has probably been an intriguing room. As of last year, I think we expected a lot of production to come from multiple guys, but I think Ethan Downs, again, was the most standout player in that room. And it's funny because a lot of the Oklahoma fan base, it seems like some of those people just have something against Ethan Downs. Don't know what it is, but he is the most consistent guy in that room. And it seems like this offseason, he's taken a bigger leadership role. But he has not been the headliner in that defensive end room. And it's not even been the transfer portal guy in Caden Woolard, who I think a lot of us expect to be really, really good. It's been Danny Okoye, one of the true freshmen out of the 2024 recruiting cycle. He was home. He was in a homeschool league here in the state of Oklahoma. He was wanted by several top tier programs across the league. So you knew Danny Okoye had talent, injured a little bit last year. So he kind of fell through the rankings there, but it seems like Oklahoma has found a hidden gem in what Danny Okoye is going to be able to provide. So I know you guys have a pretty good relationship with Danny Okoye. So, I mean, tell everybody what the buzz is around Danny.
If you listen to the Oklahoma breakdown, Gabe fanboys over him, and he unseated PJ Adebaware as kind of the person that, like, if everything comes together, it's somebody that, when you look at just physically, he's just a freak. So I know one of the stories was he got off the scales during weigh-in, stepped off the scales, flat-footed, did a standing backflip. And in the 250 range, 6'4", 250. So, just talking with Danny, he's an extremely humble guy. Like, I made the comment on our show that, he said something to the extent of, I said, people are really starting to get excited about you, buddy. And he says, yeah, but PJ is going to be the man. And so it's like, it's cool because I think that he sees it when you see, some of the coaches talking about him specifically. It's a little, cat with the canary, kind of reserved enthusiasm. So, but he started out going up against the third team, and he was just wrecking shop at the third team. And I think that he does not. I don't even think that he fully understands what he can be yet. So I expect Danny to have some kind of a role. We'll see what that looks like in the first 3 games, and then the built-in bye week, in the middle of the season. But I expect that, he's going to have, a two-part role when he comes on the field. It's going to be go get the quarterback, because some people, they just are good at getting the quarterback. They're really, really talented. They know how to get home, and they don't know how to lose. And but a team can take advantage of that and throw something to the spot that you vacated. So I think that they're going to give him, if you see this, go after the quarterback. If you see this, peel off. And so I'm excited for him, because that the guy has been chomping at the bit. He's got, I think Gabe said the right amount of crazy. So Danny, don't come fight me if you're watching this. But he's got a little bit. He started some scuffles with the offensive teams, during practices. So there's a lot to be excited about him. And but he's a guy that's maybe 6 or 7 guys down the line when it comes time to that D injury.
Yeah, and we were talking about it yesterday. You might see Danny Okoye a lot in the first couple of games. Might let him taper off a little bit so that teams will forget about him. But he's a guy that late in the season against a Bama or a team like that, you can see him in a 3rd and long situation where he's going to get home. Danny, his athleticism, that's something you can't keep off the field. It's kind of like a Peyton Bowen or Jacoby Johnson. Like, it's hard to say, you know what, you're really talented, you're really athletic, but we're going to sit you for a year. It just, that doesn't happen, especially in a Brent Venables defense. But looking at that defensive end room, I think this is the year you see Miguel Chavis's room break out, and you probably see someone scratch the surface or get to double-digit sacks. I mean, Caden Woolard had 9.5 last year at the Miami of Ohio. Ethan Downs has proven he's been able to get to the quarterback, and that's what teams playing max protect and these defensive ends having a harder time getting there. So I look at it and I say, day one, I mean, Ethan Downs has got to be a bona fide defensive end starter for you. He's the most consistent. He's a senior leader. He came back for this. But that other side, I think, becomes really intriguing, because depending on the matchup, you can put out a Caden Woolard, an R. Mason Thomas. If PJ Adebaware looks as good and is as good as we're hearing, he's going to be a guy that you're going to want on the field, because his length and athleticism, it's just going to be a winner for you. And that's just scratching the surface of the guys that enter in that room. You've got a Trace Ford. You have, is it a Taylor Wine? Is it Wine or Heim? Because I know there's a Wine and a Heim.
Give me a second.
One of
Let me
them's a
look in here
linebacker,
because
one of them's a defensive end.
he's more of an edge. Yeah.
Yeah, but both of those guys, I mean, I think this defensive room is really talented. So walk me through what you expect out of this defensive end room based on what you're hearing out of fall camp and these scrimmages.
I think that you're going to see, like you said, you're going to see Ethan Downs, and he's going to be that true defensive end starter. You're not going to see the max protect that we saw, game in and game out this past year. Texas did not do the max protect, and this team wrecked shop. They got the Quinn early and often. I think on the other side, you're probably going to see R. Mason Thomas start out as the other defensive end. I think R. Mason, his issue has always just been health. And I think that that's the big case with, a guy like Trace Ford also just been there for health purposes. And so you also got a chance, like we're going to see formations galore this year. We're going to see a lot of 3-man front with, an outside linebacker or a jack come up on the line. You're going to see the 4-man rotation. So, but I mean, if you're asking for a true starters, I'm going to go with R. Mason and Ethan Downs, and then I think that your next guys in, start with Caden Woolard. Woolard is a guy that, I mean, if you've played the video game, you're now very, very familiar with Caden Woolard. He balls out. I just played Missouri a few minutes ago, and he had 10 tackles for loss and 3 sacks. And that's not me playing with him. I typically, go in coverage with a linebacker. But yeah, it's just been. He's a guy who he has. And I was talking to his dad the other day, and his text to me was that, like, he's never been this hungry. He's never been around this much talent. And so I think that when he gets a taste of success, he's a guy who is going to continue to push, and just try to go for more and more and more. And that's exciting. I mean, if you're a fan of, great pass rush and guys getting home, that's what you want to see. Then it's PJ Adebawore. PJ is a guy who Oklahoma got in very, very early a couple of years ago. And as he rose from a 3-star to a 4-star to a 5-star, it was one that, like, can we hold on to him? And so his development with the game is still happening, but he's added more weight now. So he has more strength and more weight to add into the repertoire of his freak athleticism. And so you're going to see, I think, from that starting 4 guys, I think that you're going to see guys around the 6 to 8 sacks just a piece. I don't know if we got a double-digit sack guy, just because I think that the rotations are going to be, pretty frequent. But you start with those guys. Then you also have, like you've mentioned, Trace Ford. Trace Ford is a guy who's played a lot of college ball. He's a guy who had really good success early in his career, but injuries have taken, some stuff off of him. He says that, this is the healthiest he's been. And, he's a pretty humble guy, but I think that his experience is really, really good because, he may get beat on a play, but he learns from it and he is going to do great the next play. I also like his ability to drop out in coverage because, I mean, that's something that he showed several times last year, to where you're seeing him making a tackle on a wide receiver, 11 yards downfield on the sideline. And you're like, what in the world happened there? Well, he dropped out in coverage. Then, I mean, PG, I mean, at that point, and it is Wine is the other edge, redshirt freshman, 6'5", 245, another guy who's just a freak of nature from the athletic standpoint. But you've got Okoye, you've got Nigel Smith. So you got a lot of young guys who are going to want to take advantage of every single ounce of the opportunity that they have. And so those first 4 guys, it's about health. Can PJ take his steps? Can R. Mason stay healthy? And then what does Ethan Downs do this year? He wants to lead by example. So you want to really take into account also that I think that the defensive tackles are going to help out this room quite a bit, just because they're going to be able to command double teams. Guys, like Dominic Williams. I keep on hearing that, Dominic Williams and Jaden Jackson are guys that go out there and you look at them, you're like, well, why should we be scared of these guys? These guys aren't super tall. They're not monsters. It's not like watching Perry Winfrey out there and you're just like, holy hell, like, what is this guy going to do to us? But they're guys that you cannot move off the ball. And so if you're wanting to, take up a double team, then you're leaving guys one-on-one. And, would you like to be a running back taking on PJ around the edge? Would you like to be a running back and crazy Danny Okoye comes around the edge and you don't know if he's going to try to push you back into the quarterback or jump over you? So, there's a lot to be excited about in the edge room.
Yeah, and our Mason Thomas, I think, has got to be, outside of Danny Okoye being a true freshman, one of the most intriguing because he has been hurt. But the hype around him every season has been, I mean, it's up here. Because he's a guy that he's going to put his hand down into the dirt, and I think he ran track in high school and ran a 4.840. I'm sure he might be a little faster than that now. But our Mason Thomas is a guy that can drop back and be a linebacker for you. So we were talking about Will Anderson last night, right? I think our Mason Thomas isn't Will Anderson exactly, but he can kind of play that type of role where he can be a defensive end, but he can also drop back a little bit if you need him. Our Mason Thomas is freaky athletic. And like I said, but you did say it's hard for somebody to see somebody at 10 sacks this year. I think if somebody wants to get to 10 sacks, they need to have 5 through the first 3 games this year.
Yeah,
you might only get 5 the rest of the SEC.
Yeah, and I really believe this is that the SEC, I think, is going back to a little bit. We got used to Alabama having 4 NFL caliber receivers out on the field at all times, and so they became a more pass happy league. With Kalen DeBoer coming in, you think, well, they're just going to toss the ball everywhere. I think that the running game is going to be a bigger piece in the SEC this year than it has for the past couple of years. So your true bulk of drop back opportunities are not going to be very, very abundant. You're going to have a lot of 3-step drops. You're going to have a lot of motion, and you're going to have discipline when it comes to being an edge. So you can't just pin your ears back. Now, if you get 3rd and longs, like if you get a 3rd and 12 or a 3rd and 17. Then now you can pin it back and you can go. But I think that we're going to see, less explosive plays just, week in and week out in the SEC play. So, I mean, with you're saying, against Temple, Temple's one of the worst offenses in the league last year. And so you hope that playing straight up that you can get good amount of pressure. But I also say this, I think that we probably play close to 30 guys on defense the first couple games. And, like kind of how we saw last year, where you're just going through the numbers of how many guys got in and got true snaps. So when you're in there, take advantage of every single opportunity that you have, but you have to, you're going to have to stack up some because it's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough. And if you're a quarterback and you're looking at all these defensive ends at Oklahoma, which one's the scariest for you? I would say it's PJ. He's got a 10-inch diameter in his hand, 7-foot wingspan. So who do you think is the scariest defensive end if you're a quarterback?
I will say, let's go with a different answer because I agree with you there. But I would say that you would then go after the relentless, pursuit of Ethan Downs because he is strong. He is a guy that, a lot of people wondered, like, is it going to be, how long is it going to be until they move him towards the inside? Ethan really, really worked on his body this past year, adding strength, trying to add more explosiveness. And this is his swan song. This is his time to really show an NFL team that I could be a legitimate pass rush threat in the NFL and also hold my own out on the edge. Outside of that, if you're a quarterback and you peep down and R. Mason is healthy and you see how quick he is off the edge, that's something that a quarterback doesn't even have to get touched. That's something that a quarterback can see and all of a sudden have to go, like, I got to keep that in my mind because if my tackle misses something, if my tackle gets pulled and all of a sudden, R. Mason has a free, I mean, you're getting plowed pretty hard. So I would say, maybe the size of Ethan Downs, the relentless pursuit, and then maybe that quick twitch of R. Mason.
All right. Appreciate you joining today to talk about the defensive ends, Coop. Where can people find yours and Jay's content?
Yeah, Unfair Sports or the Sooner or Later podcast. That is where we reside. Live shows Wednesdays and Sundays. Since we are 15 days away from talk season being over, more content coming in. We're gonna have season previews. We've been dropping, positional breakdowns, as you are right now. And so, yeah, come check us out.
Yeah, and if you guys have made it this far and you have not already, make sure you guys hit that like and you hit that subscribe button.